Almost all of the schemes and plays I put together for myself or this channel start in practice mode, but every once in a while I stumble on something in the heat of the game and develop it from there. I started using this lead read option play just on a whim, and it just kept hitting for big gains. So I had to take it back to the practice field to figure out why exactly it works so well. So if you're looking for the next best run play, let's get started with the lead read option. So just for the sake of demonstration here, I came out in a really basic trips look that has this lead read option play where it's a simple read option as you know it, except you have a a front side blocker coming towards the backside and getting one of those blockers on the backside unexpectedly. So in a sense, it's almost like a triple option where you're taking out two defenders to the read side, except you only actually have one option. So it's almost like an option and a half. I don't know how to explain it, but it is really good. And I just noticed that it was getting nice big chunks of yards, like 5, 10, 15 yards, or a lot of the time it would break for big touchdowns where, you know, generally I've been kind of struggling in the run game recently, especially since I've gone to more of a spread shotgun offensive scheme. So if you're looking for a really, really good run concept, and if you're running shotgun, or if you want to start running pistol, there's a lot of good lead read options in pistol as well, and I'll get into that. Those are going to be really, really good for you. But for now, let's just get started against a really simple 4-down cover 3 look and show you how that works against that. A few things you'll want. Actually, really the only thing is everybody's got speedy quarterbacks in Ultimate Team. The fast break abilities, of course, going to be useful for you to break quickly off that read. And then take it upfield with your quarterback. But you're going to have great options whether you're with your running back or your quarterback, where for what I think in the regular read option that you would running a regular zone blocking on that, it doesn't really work so well if you have to hand it off to your running back. In this case, we have two really good options with that. So I'm just going to have the end go after the the running back in this case, and we'll show you what happens here, and we'll show you the replay just to show you what's going on. So like with a regular read option, in a situation where you keep it with your quarterback, you're usually going to be pretty well off because the entire defense is flowing play side with the running back, and then you're taking off unexpectedly to the backside. It's kind of like a counter in a sense, where you're kind of cutting it back against the grain. But the counter hasn't worked well in Madden for ages. This is one of the few ways to do that. But what's great about this play, so in this case we see that the defensive end is taken off after the running back, and that's a really simple read to make. And then it's just a wash up front. Over here we don't even really care because we're never going to take off that way. You see the guard and the center kind of the guard gets hung up a little bit on the double team. He actually does an okay job. But what really makes this play shine here is that the left tackle doesn't have to worry about the backside end who's never going to make a play anyway. He goes immediately to the backside linebacker, and we'll get into this a bit later on, but that backside linebacker is usually pretty difficult to pick up with the zone blocking scheme, just in this game in general, because usually you'll have a double team, and then those double team linemen will struggle to get to the linebacker, and a lot of times that linebacker will just be free to shoot into the gap, and you won't have anywhere to run. So now, on top of that, once we take out this defensive end out of the play with just our simple read, we have this lead blocker ready to take out the next guy, right? So in a sense, what I was talking about earlier with the triple option is that you take out the first guy and then you take out the second guy with a second option. But in this case, we have a lead blocker to take that out. And then from there, in this case, it's cover 3. We have acres of space to run with. Hopefully your backside wide receiver does a bit of a better job blocking than that. And then maybe you could kind of go around him, take off for a touchdown, but still a really nice, decent chunk of yards. Now, what really made this play stand out for me is when I get the read from the defensive end to release it to the running back, is that I found that I still got big chunks of yards with that, and that was because of the cutback lane that's created with this blocking scheme. So we're going to go ahead and do, it's the same setup here, except we're going to tell that defensive end to go after the quarterback in this case. And so what's going to happen is I'm going to, hand it off inside, and I still get a nice big chunk of yards. So like I was saying, what's great about this play is that it's really clean. Like you have a really clean and noticeable alley here, so that you get at least 5 or 10 yards every time, if not an opportunity to break that for a much bigger gain. But so you'll see here is the defensive end kind of holds it for the quarterback, but you instead hand it off to the running back, and you're almost doing the exact same thing as you would have if you kept with the quarterback. You're still cutting back to this lane here. You're essentially cutting back. I won't even call it a gap in this case, but you're cutting back behind the left tackle, who's again making a direct line to that backside linebacker. We're taking the defensive end out of the play with our read. We don't have to block him, right? And that read is pretty simple to make. If you spend, if you've never run a read option, spend 3 to 5 minutes in practice mode, you're going to get it down, no problem. And then again, you have the lead blocker. He's going to take the next defender out of the play. He doesn't even need to be a great blocker. He just needs to get in his way, and then you're already past him with your running back. And then again, if you have a bit better blocking on the backside, you can probably take it, break it out towards the sideline again and get more yards. In this case, for the sake of demonstration, 10 to 15 yards running isn't too bad. And what about a too high case? So just go into cover 2 here, and we'll tell the end to go after the running back. So we see that, we keep it, and now our lead blocker is going straight at that safety, and we can go past them for even more yards. And same thing in this case, we'll go too high, cover 2, and we'll tell the defensive end to go after the quarterback, in which case we'll see that, we'll hand it off, and now lead blocker is going straight at that safety, and we have a big lane for an easy touchdown. So because the front's essentially the same here, everything really works out the same. Everything's clean and predictable, like I was talking about just with cover 3, except now in this case, after the read defender, the next defender is no longer over here on the line of scrimmage. He's way deep on the safety, and we have this lead blocker who does an excellent job at targeting him almost every time. And then the free safety, who was the guy that made the tackle in cover 3 case, in this case he's just too far away from the play, and we're able to score pretty easily. So now let's just repeat this with a regular read option here. So we don't have the lead blocker coming from the play side. We just have a simple reading the defensive end and taking it from there. So again, 4 down, simple, single high front. We're going to tell the defensive end to crash in on the running back, and then if I get the read to take that with the quarterback, well, now I'm one-on-one here with this overhang defender who's not going to be blocked in this case. So right away, that's one great benefit of having that lead blocker is we can take out that extra overhang defender. Now, what happens if I tell the defensive end to go after the quarterback and give me a handoff key here? Now, there isn't an immediately clear area for me to go with my running back, right? So I have to bounce that outside where I'm facing block sheds and potential extra defenders. And then if we take that a step further back, or we're just running regular old inside zone, or we have 6 blockers against 6 defenders, I'm not going to count this guy, but you could potentially count him. It could be 6 against 7, whereas in before we had, we're taking 1 defender out of the play, so we have a numbers advantage there. Plus, we're cutting back with an added pulling blocker to the backside, and that gives us another advantage. In this case, we really have no advantage. We're just running straight up inside zone, and then again, like I was telling you, it's difficult for those double teams to get off their blocks. Now, double teams are great, right? In real life, you don't want those big defensive tackles to be blocked one-on-one, right? It's really difficult to do that. So the double team is nice, where you're able to push those big defensive linemen back a little bit. But in Madden, it's more kind of aesthetic. I prefer getting single teams because those block sheds don't really come in quick anyway. I just want those offensive linemen to immediately, block the defensive lineman that's head up on them. But if you're not head up on the defensive lineman, you should immediately go to that second level. In Madden, I'm talking about. So in the previous case with the lead read option, you saw that the backside tackle is immediately going to that linebacker. In this case, you get 2 double teams. The backside guy does an okay job, but the front side guy, the wrong guy releases, and then you have to either run into a tackle like I did, cut it backside, in which case you have a free overhang defender over here, or bounce that outside where, in this case I have Calais Campbell one-on-one on a tight end, or, the overhang, so it's just not many good options because the numbers don't work out and the blocking doesn't work out nicely. And we'll just finish it off here with a few of the different sets here against some random plays just to show you how it works against different fronts. If you are curious, the playbook I picked for the practice mode here is the Baltimore Ravens. They have a number of these different read options, obviously, Lamar Jackson. I'm using the Saints playbook online, and they have one of them out of one of the Trips Taysom Hill play sets. But here in Pistol Bunch, it works really, really nicely. So at this stage in the game, if you want to try something different, you want to have a pistol scheme or something, this is going to give an actual way to have a running game out of a pistol set where you otherwise couldn't because the handoffs are so kind of wonky. So in this case, again, same old thing. We got the lead over here. We actually got a good block in this case. Maybe we can jump over this guy. No, but really, really nice, right? Looks like we have a cover 1 here or something. Again, we got the quarterback keep. Again, we're running right behind our lean blocker. Play it safe, slide, don't want to fumble. And here we got a really, a double A gap look. A lot of guys in the box here. But we can still be pretty confident with it that it's going to work out. In this case, I already had 2 quarterback keeps. So I'll go after the quarterback in this case. And then again, I have this beautiful alley to run into and a big chunk of yards yet again. So now in this case, we have a odd look with the linebackers down on the guards. Again, I don't know, we'll go option quarterback. And again, we have this nice alley. In this case, that was not the greatest, but still 6-7 yards. So you can see it's going to be really, really nice for you, and it's actually a lot of fun to run. It's not just effective, but there's a little bit of thinking involved, and it's not so muddy and clumsy as other inside runs in this game. Sometimes it will get weird, especially with a lot of crazy user adjustments out there where the guy's moving his user outside of his regular position or making some crazy defensive line shifts. Sometimes it will get a little bit weird, but I encourage you to stick with it because more often than not, these runs break for big, big gains. We'll close it off by just talking about 3-4 odd here. There's no reason for 3-4 odd to be any good against this, but like it is against many other run schemes in this game, it just for some reason messes things up a little bit. It's still a good option against 3-4 odd, but you get some weird things happen, like in this case. So just a stock cover 4 drop. It doesn't always happen, but let's see if it does. So we'll let the defensive end go after the running back, and you'll see when I pull it, well, in this case, he got blocked, but a lot of cases that blocker will get kind of hung up in the middle. But in that case, it's okay, and then, it actually clears up when they start doing, the pinch, spread, press type of stuff. So in this case, it was difficult for that lead blocker to go, but in that case, the safety was out of position. I was able to run around him pretty easily. 3-4 odd, cover 3. Sometimes you'll have weird situations where the defensive end and the outside linebacker are left free, despite the outside linebacker being the read defender. That defensive end beside him will be left free as well. So in that case, worked out again really nicely. These things just tend to work out nicely, but sometimes they can get a little bit weird. And against the cover 2, there's like a cover 2 blitz, I think, where these essentially you have a 7-man box here. Again, you're gonna have a really nice opportunity here to find this little lane here and take that in a really nice spot. So I'm not going to show you much more. I think you get the gist of how nice this concept is going to be, and it's going to work nicely out of shotgun. It's going to work nicely out of pistol. What I've noticed, and you can take this to the practice mode yourself and kind of play around with it, a few different formations, but I've noticed it works better out of the more spread out sets. So there's a few of them in like some of the shotgun wing or pistol wing, where you have 2 tight ends or maybe even more. Things get a little bit not harder to read, but harder to find the lanes in that case. So it's not so good in that case, but maybe you could scheme something out of that or find the right fronts to run that against. So I really prefer these more spread sets, and particularly 1x3 sets where I'm really isolating this backside guy in the backside of the defense, letting everybody flow strong side and take that to the backside. Sometimes if you're in, say, a 2x2 or something like that, it can get a little bit tougher. Other things I want to say, if you are pulling up this screen pre-snap and there is no read icon, there's no read player, it's honestly not even worth running at that point because you don't really know what's going to happen. There's no read animation to really work off of. and then in that case it just kind of becomes a weird free-for-all. So I wouldn't even really necessarily do that, but if you want, you can. Otherwise, I would just check into a regular run or a pass play. And then the last thing, one weird thing to watch out for is that sometimes the player, like usually the next person in from the read player, so in this case it's the end, or it could be like a 3 technique or a 1 technique. Sometimes the guard will chop him down to the ground, and that's nice because he'll be taken out of the play, no chance of him getting a block shed, though he never does anyway. But the bad thing is it kind of gets in your running lane, so you have to kind of work around that or try to jump over it. It clears a big opening, but it's kind of tricky to get around that, if you know what I'm saying. So that's something to watch out for. That's going to slow you down a little bit, but by and large, you're going to be really, really successful with this, and I think it's a lot of fun to run. So hope you guys like that one. I'll see you guys in the next one.